Welcome to this episode of the Elite Question Askers. I am Jason Wells.
I am Mo Williams.
I am Dedrick Taylor.
Fellas, I missed y'all. I feel like it's been a minute, 10 days since we recorded.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we got recruiting happening, traveling happening for me. Mo, what you been doing?
Same, just not traveling.
Still recruiting though, right?
Recruiting and working.
Yeah.
We got one recruit today. I got two this weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
Let's get it. Fist bump moments. What you got, man, in these 10 days? I'm excited to hear these.
Okay, I'll go. So my wife is away on a trip, having a good time. So I've had more daddy-daughter time than ever before, and I've loved it. I counted today that I got a total from when daycare ended around 4 o'clock to bedtime, which is about 7:50. It was 7:50. And I got a total of 15 hugs from my kid. Yeah. And I loved all 15 of them. All 15 of them. And I got about 11 I love yous. So I love it. I'll take it. My mom is actually here too, so she's in the other room. So yeah, and just surrounded by love. Just surrounded by love, man. This is a great weekend that could go stressful and tiresome because of those two visits I told you guys we got. But yeah, it's been filled with love, man. I've enjoyed it.
Major fist bumps.
Yeah. Dang, I don't know if I want to go after that. How about you go, Jay?
Okay. My clarity is off the charts right now. I feel like I got VR goggles on. So was in St. Louis this week and just there, and that's actually going to pour into our topic, which will be leadership today, in the different forms of how it shows up. But I'm there doing these leadership development workshops, and it's just, I'll share even during the course of our recording. But I was sitting there with the two partners of the Leadership Institute at dinner Monday night, and Matt, who's retired Air Force, high-ranking military, he asked me several times, like, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" And it wasn't like in a challenging way or anything like that. It was almost in a way of like, how can I help type deal. And I don't know what time it was. It wasn't the first, and maybe it even wasn't the last, but he asked me a version of what do I want, and without ever consciously thinking about it, and definitely without ever saying it, my response to him was, I want my own leadership institute. And the two partners, Matt and Sarah, is the lady that was there, they both kind of like bubble-eyed, like, oh, damn. Like that. And in that moment, I was kind of just like, now, what I just say? That was Monday. It's been nonstop on my mind since then. And it's so new. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know whether it's brick and mortar. I don't know whether it's digital, virtual in this online space. I don't know. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And I also came back and told them, y'all need to hire me to coach y'all. And they were both like, we probably do. So yeah, again, we'll talk more about this throughout this, but that was a major kind of like just moment of confidence. This dude is retired, high-ranking military, high-ranking. And Sarah is high leader, like partner. These are partners in this institute, like being partners at a law firm. And 2-3 times during the course of the conversation, verbatim, just like I was talking to y'all, I told him, I'm the shit. Straight up. But it was with this sense of confidence, like For real, man. The confidence I have now, if I would have had it when I was playing, I'd have played in the league. Real talk. Like, I'm pretty good at what I do. And I work my ass off to be this good. Just like I worked my ass off to be good at basketball. So I don't know if that helped or harmed, but that you can't just blow into the microphone. We're recording, bro.
I was trying to blow something off my computer. I don't give a doggone about blowing in the microphone. Who cares, man? Shoot, you cussing and carrying on. What's the difference?
Yeah, that's true, man. The dude, he should be able to blow in his own computer.
Dang,
But, my question to you is,
violate people's ears and whatnot. And I just blew in the mic. I blew on the computer. Dadgummit.
you did, man. I'm gonna get us back on track though. My question to you is, people hear that. How is that not, that could be perceived as cocky? What's your response to that?
Yeah.
The right answer is, yeah, I worked my tail off. That's on you. But yeah, like, what if your perception?
Why can't that be my answer? Why? That's your answer. Why can't that be my answer, Diedrich?
The thumbs up?
Yeah.
Because that's not appropriate to what he is asking you.
If people think that's cocky and vain and narcissistic, then thumbs up to you, man. Like, awesome. I know, even from a monetary standpoint, the amount of money that I desire to make, I have one. There's a lot of people that make a whole lot more than that. So I'm in this space of, if other people do it, why can't I? If other people charge what they charge, why can't I? Other people charge much more than what I charge. Why can't I? And yeah, bro, I think I I truly think the answer to that question for me lies in the difference between good and great. I feel like good people limit themselves to the mindset of greatness. There's a mindset of greatness that everybody don't have. Like when LeBron said a few years ago, who would you vote for MVP? And he said himself, most average people don't understand why. Like, he's so cocky and vain. Like, no, I just think I'm the best player in the game. Most people don't understand that train of thought. And I think this falls into that. If you don't understand it, if that offends you, thumbs up. Awesome.
I hope I don't sound like that.
You do, actually. I actually felt like you when I said it. In celebration of you, I thought it felt amazing. So,
gosh,
I see why you live in that space.
I need to get out of that space. That's what that's out of line.
Did it sound vain to you when I said it, Mo?
I'm just listening to you, man.
No, I'm just asking, did it, or even the DT?
Your thumbs up?
I think my thumbs up was sarcastic, but it was rooted in authenticity. It was real. Like, that's really how I feel. That's how you feel. More power to you.
Respect. That's my word.
I love to see what greatness looks like for you. That's what I would say to that person.
We had some deep, treacherous water already, huh?
Yeah, why not? Let's get it. What you got?
Mine is just straight mundane, like just low key, don't have none of the effect and the emotional attachments that you guys have. I've been traveling and recruiting and going nonstop, and I'm tired. That's my fist bump moment. I'm tired, and I'm planning on doing something about it tomorrow. Nothing. I was tired, sir.
How you feel about that, Mr. I don't know how to vacation and have challenges sitting down? How you know, knowing that you are planning a chill day?
How do I feel? I don't know. I'll tell you about tomorrow. I feel like somehow, some way, I'll still find a way, or something will still find a way to cause me to, to be active and start moving around and doing what I've been doing probably the last 2 weeks. Really, it feels like almost as soon as the season was over, we've been running 100 miles an hour. So being able to planning on doing as close to little tomorrow as I can, but somehow, some way, I'll end up doing something, and just it'll still keep rolling.
Ignite question. When you played, what type of leader were you? And typically what I mean, I'll give us three. So typically I'm saying you have a vocal leader, you have a leader of example or by example, or I think there's a space for recognizing that, you know, people show up in leadership in different ways. Maybe they weren't like the alpha leader. Maybe, you know, you got more of a deferring type of leadership. So yeah, not that it has to, I'm just kind of setting those parameters. They don't have to be limited to those, but in a nutshell, if you were to look back over the course of your career, what type of leader do you think you were? Would you categorize yourself as?
I mean, for me, I would say example. Like I took a lot of pride in doing things that most people didn't want to do. You know, even something as simple as like the cardio aspect of coming back in game ready shape. I always stayed in shape because I never got out of shape. And I took a lot of pride in that. You know, I was not, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say I am good. Just like Jayson, I'm going to say I am good. But I knew that that part of my game, I needed to be very good because if not, there were other parts that were not going to be as effective. So I took a lot of pride in that. And yeah, I was always that, you know, if we were lifting, all right, like this is where he is. We got to rise to that level. From anything competing, that was kind of that standard, or I was that above the line person. But I'll say I was very poor at getting others and telling others what they needed to be doing consistently at times. But I would say I was definitely more of an example.
Dig it. When you say telling them where they needed to be, I don't even know how I really want to word that. Like that sounds very like you are the judge of where they should be. Is that a form of leadership for you?
No, that is a good question. I think for me, and you know this, we'll probably go down this road. Like I'm defining this with my team, so these things are very fresh. But I've learned through this journey with my team. We talked about this. We actually talked about this week. Like there is no such thing as leading by example. Your silence is consent. So if you're not saying anything, you're okay with it. You know, there is no like I lead by example. It's if you're just focused on you're basically not holding the standard and reiterating the standard that needs to be done. So everybody needs to be saying something. And I guess what I meant is I saw guys at times not hit the line. I was just more focused on like, well, I'm gonna hit it and I'm gonna beat you, opposed to like, nah, man, like that's not okay. Like if you don't touch that line, we're not going to be to the stand. We're not going to be the team that we're supposed to be. And I think for me as a coach, me as a player, you don't know what you don't know. And that's what this all season has been great for me as well as our team is defining these commonly used terms and making it so clear to us that we know what to do in the heat of the moment. We are coach led opposed to just saying it and we're one other thing when coach isn't around. You know, we are player led, and that's really been cool to see that shift with my team. With my unit.
VT, what you got, man? What kind of leader were you when you played?
Yeah, I was more of a. I feel like I had a leader type personality ever since I was younger, and leader type personality meaning I was always out in front. Not necessarily leadership personality, but leader type of personality. Like I was always, I felt like I was always looked upon as, okay, well, what do you think? And obviously as time went on, you know, I shared on the podcast before I played for my dad. And so being a coach's son, you kind of had certain leadership qualities, if you will. And so for me, I reflect back on kind of being that dude like that kind of galvanized the group and said, hey, we need to do this, or was always speaking in the timeout. But there were also times where I felt like I kind of was the younger, because I always played up, right? I always played with an older group, and I was younger, and so I would kind of fall back and see what everybody else was doing and what everybody else was saying. But yeah, I think back over the course of my career, I would probably say I was a vocal dude. Like I could tell people certain things, and I could tell them things in a way that made them feel good about hearing it, and it wasn't necessarily good information, or sometimes it was get your bleepity bleep over there and do so and so. You know, I just kind of felt like I had that type of personality that could say certain things in certain situations and not get away with it, but it was meaningful, it was impactful, and but then we would quickly, move away from it, the emotion of it, if you will. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I think mine is similar to all of us, but I resonate with Mo. Like I was never good enough to not work hard. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have that luxury. And I share all the time with Earl and Melvin Levin and Ruben Patterson and all those guys that played in the NBA that was on my AAU team. Obviously it wasn't what it is now, but when they were getting invited to things and they were going to these camps, my joke now is I wasn't good enough to get invited to nothing, and I ain't have enough money to pay for nothing. So when they was at all those camps, I was at the crib still in the backyard at the playground or whatever. So working hard just became not even second nature. Like it wasn't even a thought. How hard I was going to work wasn't even a thought. It's why I've been a just ridiculous rebounder from my size and even athleticism. Like I was just that dude. I want it more than you do, straight up. And then also too, like there was this phase of growing into my talent and my skill set where once I started to get into the professional ranks and my game started to mature and I started to be kind of that best player on the team, I was in a window where, the comparisons that they say about MJ or Kobe, like it's tough when your best player is your hardest worker. That creates a hell of an environment. And I was that for a window of my career. And it was still mixed in with some immaturity of, I used to have this thing I used to say when I was younger, if it was on my mind, it was on my tongue. I was saying it. And I got stories. I ain't cussed out everybody from the water boy to the president. And it was all rooted in the competitor side of me of I'm out here doing what I need to do to put us in the best situation for us to win. And if you not, you messing with my money. You know what I'm saying? And water boy, I don't come out very often. So when I come out, I need you to have my joint ready so I can drink my water and get back on the floor to do what I need to do to help us win. Mr. President, you want me to go score 20 and 10, I need my internet to be working. You know what I'm saying? Or my VCR back then, I got to be able to watch my episodes of Martin and all of that. You want me to do what I need you to do, what you want me to do, I need you to do what in order to be able to do that. And at a young age, my passion and immaturity outweighed the fact that it was all still rooted in a form of leadership and a form of competition. So, yeah.
Was it really, or what was it? Or is that what you use as that's the way you define it now?
What you mean?
A great question.
Like, are you saying was I really crazy?
No. Like, were you really driven by those things, or were you driven by I'm that dude?
No.
Mm.
No. I don't know. And even what we were saying before we started recording, I'm that dude on the basketball court never really happened. Like it did, but only to my level. if that makes any sense. Like even when I might have thought that for a minute, it was to my own limitation of what that meant for me, not what it could have, would have, should have been.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just like, I get to hoop, I get to see the world, I get a little bit of money. I don't know nobody that ever made $30,000. Sign me up for that contract. But no, man, I think I can honestly look back and say it wasn't rooted in that, because I ain't ever, like, even from an NBA standpoint, I went first 2 through probably first 4 years pro. I would still come back and do vet camps and NBA and summer leagues and stuff like that. And once I felt like I really, it was matter of fact, it was the last year. So I did actual summer league. I did 2 with the Lakers, 1 with the Heat, and 1 with a free agent team. My last year, I played with my agent's free agent team. And it was in that moment, I was 24 maybe. And in that moment, it was, oh, damn, I could play with these dudes. And by that time, the window was closed. So it looked different. So I took my butt back overseas and saw the world. I appreciate that question, though.
Nothing wrong with that.
So if we talk in leadership, how has leadership shifted or maybe it hasn't shifted? How do you approach leadership when it comes to the athletes in your program? Is that a focal point during the recruiting process? Is that, sprinkles on the icing? Is that, like, what does that look like for you guys as you're recruiting a young man to your program?
For me, I just talk about it in the recruiting process. I don't necessarily determine or define them as a leader. I talk about the qualities that I've seen in them, or our staff has seen in them, and we talk about that type of leadership, whatever that looks like, whatever they look like. It's funny, man. Like, I think I've been a head coach for 9 years now. I don't know that I've ever appointed captains. Like, hey, you're the captain. You got to go out and meet the officials and the other opposing teams, the captains. Like, I've never done that. I've talked to guys behind the scenes about taking on a bigger leadership role, and I found it kind of backfired in a lot of ways. And but I do talk about leadership and who that person is, or who they are, and who I think they can be, and what type of leadership they can provide for our program, whether it's, out in front, vocal leader, or, quiet, maybe lead by example. I just talk about who they are and who we need them to be from a leadership standpoint, because I think, like Mo said earlier, like even quiet, humble, not saying nothing, that's a form of leadership. And I think it needs to be highlighted nonetheless in each person.
Yeah, I would say for us, you're dealing with 2 different levels. So a level where you're going to be able to have interaction on the court with your guys year round, where with us, there's stoppage where I'm not able to have the interaction in time. So I would say it's extremely important in the recruiting process to get guys that fit that leadership role. And I think the first thing that we talk about that's important to me is, we want no wheelbarrows in our program. Like, a wheelbarrow, is literally there's 2 wheels on it. You throw dirt in there, but you have to physically lift it and push it in order for it to move. And we say no wheelbarrows. Like, we don't want those kind of players in our program. I've had them or made the mistake or learned by mistakes that when you bring those types of players in, you have to physically lift them. So you have to physically, or you have to say something every year about them being in a certain shape or a certain thing. It just comes to never work here. So we have to have guys that are intrinsically motivated. As far as the word leadership, it's everybody's business. So instead of, hey, you're a captain, you're this, you're that, We try to teach our guys, what are you doing every day where people should want to follow you? Like, what clues are you leading every single day? So instead of wheelbarrows, we talk about be an ant. If you have ants in your house, think about this. They're moving with a purpose. It might be Kool-Aid behind that refrigerator or something, so they're trying to get on that, but they're moving with a purpose. And nothing is too small that they'll try to move, and if it's too big, they need others around them to move them together. So we talk about that, be an ant, not a wheelbarrow. But, it's really arming those tools, man. It's being really clear. It's teaching them, can you be at your best when your best is required? And I think for us now, as I'm now moving in my third year into being a head coach, it's really teaching these guys the tools and putting them in situations where someone's forced to step up. And that's kind of how we've identified, like, all right, you are that vocal leader. You're going to step into it. You are that, not lead by example, because I don't say that anymore, but every single year we can count on you being at the level we need. But the challenge to you is now, are you making sure that others are holding to that standard? Or are you being mute? But yeah, we just try to be really clear with it, man. Obviously, you, Jay, I love talking about this kind of stuff because this is kind of where we are right now. But it's extremely important here, and it's something I look for. And I'm not just looking for guys that are, do you yell at your teammates? I'm looking at just how you are and who you are as a person. And I think that's really what leadership is.
Couple things. D, you mentioned what I'm going to use the word as seniority piece. And Mo, you've several times mentioned the lead by example. So small touch on both of those. How does leadership look if it doesn't come by seniority or a title? So if I'm not naming captains, which is the title, and it's not necessarily, sometimes people will fall into what they presume is leadership because I'm a senior, I'm a junior. I've been on the team for a certain amount of years, and they think you default kind of back into this leadership. So let's go there first before we touch on lead by example. How do you address that? How that shows up? And this doesn't have to necessarily even be your program right now, just across the board, things that you're attracted to, things that you've heard in leadership, things that you adopt into it. Like, how does that look for you when leadership doesn't come from, I've been here a long time, or I actually got the title of it?
I think it comes from what Mo just said earlier in terms of what are your daily habits, and do those daily habits define leadership roles or leadership responsibilities? And I think at least for our team, the types of leaders that you and I and maybe even Mo are familiar with, I don't know that these kids, they're that way. They can handle that. They can handle either giving it or they can handle receiving it. Like the way that we used to talk to each other about winning or about so on and so forth. Come on, Mo. Come on, Mo. Dang, man.
I was laughing because I related to it, man.
No, you wasn't.
No, I really was.
but the types of man, never mind.
Oh man, that was a really good point you were getting.
That was, man, and Mo messed it up. Hey,
go back into it.
No, I can't even forget it. Just mute me, man. I'm gonna mute myself. Dog.
Dang, I really like what he was saying, man.
Go ahead, Mo. Have at that question. What does leadership look like if it doesn't come from seniority? Maybe your man can get his train of thought back together over there. You rattled him, bro. I don't know if I was rattled, man.
I was just laughing, man. I thought it was funny and I related to what he was saying. But I don't think that seniority stuff matters, man, because you can be somewhere for 3 years and you don't do anything right. Like you're not in alignment at all with those things. I think, again, man, leadership is, do you have clarity of standards and vision? And from there, like even the Bible talks about without vision, people will perish. I don't think that's just biblically related. I think it is related to everything. And if I'm completely honest, like that's where I needed to get better. There are things in our program that have perished because of me, where now it's I'm extremely militant on our standards. Like, you don't have to know them. You have to live them. We're going to talk about them. I'm going to give them to you. You have to use them. You have to speak about it. And from there, I think this view of leadership or who's our leader or what's this, it just happens because you're putting them in spaces where my voice is not the dominant voice anymore. Like if I literally say, hey, Jay, I want you to talk to the team about adversity, and we're going to read this article here, and I'll put you and 2 other teammates together. You're now the leader. So you now have to go from, I don't like speaking in front of people, but I have to now prepare. I have to now figure out what are things that relate to this in our team, or what other things coaches asking me to do. And I've just come to find out, we call it like sharing the mic. Like back in the day, this is before me, but the Temptations, man, it was all of them, man. It was everybody ain't have a microphone. Yeah. So like we let
5 Temptations.
We let those guys just kind of step in, and you got the program today, man. Drive us, take us where we need to go. And I think that's leadership.
Yeah, I think sorry about that.
You got it back. You good?
Sort of. I think what Mo just talked about and what he described is more of today's style of leadership. What I was saying is that the way we're used to, leadership, it just looks different now. And I'll give you a perfect example in terms of like, there was a kid that we recruited here some time ago that he was a point guard in college, or junior college. And so we wanted him to come and I wanted him to be the leader of our group and kind of verbally, this and that. And so we had conversations all the whole time of leading up to him joining us. And then when he did, like I mentioned, it was one of those backfired situations where our team just totally rejected it. They rejected his leadership. Why did they reject his leadership? Because he was doing some of the same things that they were off the floor, in terms of, he got pissed off at him one day because we were practicing at, 11 o'clock, and guys just showed up at like 10:55 and hurried up and got on the floor. Well, he called it, he kind of chastised them in front of me and so on and so forth, the staff and so on and so forth. And lo and behold, he just got there. Like if they got there at 10:55, he got there probably 10:50. And so from that instance, I just learned that leadership is just different. It doesn't, like most, it just organically happens, and it becomes what it is based on the factors that people are, or their environment produces. Now, there are certain situations, as you and I, or all of us know, like, if your team's not having a good day, or you're in a situation where you're after your team and you could say, hey, Jimmy, you better get them together. It's your team, get them together, and that's a version of kind of passing the mic in terms of being in those situations, but not always referring to Jimmy. How about James? Now today it's James, and trying to create a level of leadership, but more so create a level of ownership in the same token. Come on, man. I'm done. No more.
Just saying, you realize Jimmy is a nickname for James. I get where you're going though.
Come on, man. Ain't nobody even thinking about that.
I wouldn't.
Somebody take his mic.
But even on that, DT, like I did a clinic. I shared this with coaches, and I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. But I always hated if guys are not playing to the standard, coaches just cursing you out. All right, I'm gonna put you on the line and run. What we do, one, I just prevent myself to try to get to that point, is we let the guys call timeouts, or I'll call a timeout in practice. Like, all right, you guys, like, figure it out. And if you really listen to that dialogue, those guys are saying exactly what I would have said, and probably saying it more articulate if I'm really angry, and better than I could have ever put it.
Easy.
So you speaking through anger.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So I'll be like, look, man, time out. This is your timeout for practice. and I'll just walk. And what I'm doing is I'm praying, that pause, notice, choose, but really I'm praying. I might get those words out just over on the other side of the gym. And literally we snap back in, and those guys are saying like, look, man, you got to get here. You got to get here. You got to get here. And then boom, the practice is better, and then from there, like they snap back in, or I took this from a long-time coach, not John Chaney, but guy Fran Dumpy at Temple. I went to a practice and I'm like, why is he just sitting there? Like, what is he doing? And he would have practices where he's quiet. And I do that. Like, I would literally sit there and just, instead of me saying, hey, we're not talking or we're not doing this, I would be quiet in certain segments. So when I get back in, I know exactly what to say. I'm direct on, like, you're not doing this third possession, you didn't do that. Instead of us talking about guys aren't being vocal, I actually use a decibel app on our phone. So like they know if we're not hitting I don't remember the numbers, but like 0.6, that's not the standard. We should be getting over 0.6. If I have that app on, you should see that needle getting to that. If it's not getting there, we're not loud enough. Instead of me saying, yo, y'all not talking.
So you are using technology to gauge the noise, the volume of your gym.
Correct. Yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah.
That's fire. Damn. Yeah, that's a different. Y'all ain't talking, y'all. Man, I mean, here you go. Here you go, y'all. So I think we've got this vision of, or I've got this vision of what lead by example gone wrong looks like. I think, Mo, you and I talked about this the other day. What happens if I'm a leader, if I say that I'm a leader of example, what happens when I can't be an example? What happens when I get 3 fouls and I got to sit down in the first half? Or what happens if I get injured or I'm not able to lead by night? Now what? I feel like I heard the same from a vocal standpoint. I know I have been on, and I'm going to facetiously say I know you guys have been on and coached those teams where dude is saying the right stuff, but not him. Shut up. Not you, son. Not you. You don't, not you. It's the right stuff. How do we handle that? It's the right stuff, but the wrong person. How do we handle that leadership?
I think you have to acknowledge it. Because I would just say, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but we've had that experience here where the wrong dude is saying the wrong stuff. And the reason why it's the wrong dude saying the wrong stuff is because off the floor.
Wrong dude, right stuff. Wrong dude, wrong stuff.
Wrong dude saying the right stuff.
Correct. Okay, got you.
But there's no substance behind it. There's no conviction behind it. And so he might say it, but the guys are looking at him like he got 6 heads because they don't believe in him, because they know how he operates off the floor, or they know that he's full of it, or whatever the case may be. And I think when you, as the head of this program, noticed it, you have to call it out. And again, Mo mentioned it, or you may have mentioned it in terms of the form of communication. You have to talk about it, in my opinion, because if you don't, guess what? They're talking about it in the locker room. They're talking about it in their dorm or in their apartments. It's being talked about. And if you don't step to it and meet it head on, in my opinion, I think it could cause leadership of a different kind. Like Mo said, even bad leadership is leadership nonetheless. It's still a form of leadership, and guys are going to follow that. Guys are going to follow dysfunction. Guys are going to follow, just bad examples, in my opinion. I was going to say something, but I'm not.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing as you say that because I automatically think politically, and obviously politics can be polarizing, but you look back at people that you would, I guess, from a majority standpoint or a consensus standpoint, say were quote unquote good leaders, And then I think you could go back and say the same about who would be perceived as bad leaders. But I love what you said right there. Like it's still leadership. It's still a form of leadership. And
let me ask you this question. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So when I played back before Christ was born, I played with a guy who smoked his face off before the game. Us as teammates recognize
cigs or weed or cigar weed.
Huh?
Cigs or weed or cigar weed.
Marijuana. What you talking about, man? They smoke cigarettes at halftime.
So, well, you said before Christ, so they were like smoking heaters in the locker room.
Man, they were smoking that good ganja, man.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
Before Christ was here. You know what I'm saying? But so this guy like would go out and do his thing. And we as a team, we knew or could tell by being on the team with him when he did or he did not. When he did smoke and when he did not smoke. When he did not smoke, he was nowhere near the player he was when he did smoke.
Damn.
So as a team, we got together and said, hey, man, it's 90 minutes before the game time. What the hell are you doing in here?
Go get your head right.
Go. Because we were consumed with winning, though. You know what I mean? Like guys knew, okay, that's his vice. That's what he needs. And then he's going to give us what we need. Let's go. Is that bad leadership or is that good leadership? We used to call it the burning bush. If my man wasn't out there 90 minutes before the game time, something was wrong. But it's crazy. Like nobody knows.
How about coaches? Did coaches know?
I don't think so. If they did, they never said anything. And I know my head coach was unaware. He was probably like I am, like just don't know which way is up. Maybe the assistants maybe had an idea. I feel like one might have had an idea because I'm not so sure that he didn't either. You know what I mean?
Might have been with him, huh?
But no, I don't feel like the coaches were that aware of what was going on, or maybe they were, and if they were, they just ignored it.
Yeah.
But us as a team, and I mean, like it wasn't one or two guys. It was a team effort. Like this dude, he was a starter. So it was like the other four starters and like 3 or 4 or 5 other guys would be knocking on his door. What you doing? Why are you in here? Go. We'll see you over there. Let's go.
I mean, to listen to what you're saying, it sounds to me like you guys are helping him be at his best when his best is required. So that's leadership, man. I think and we're not going to get into that topic in the sense of was it morally wrong or not. I mean, I have my views on that, but I think you clearly identified and helped him identify what helped him play at a certain level that needed to be done in order to help you win. And I think he was able to hear from you guys like, okay, y'all, regardless of whether you do it or not, because it didn't sound like you shared at all that like, I need y'all to do it too. You're like, hey, you need to do it, and it's going to help you play to a level for us to be at our best. So yeah, like we support it. Like we need you to do it. And it probably helped him realizing that I got my brothers, with me. So, I mean, I don't think that's bad leadership at all.
Interesting.
Mo, you mentioned something that you do with your guys as far as putting them in situations to practice leadership. So that's where I'm going with this. Do you guys feel like as coaches, not you individually, or I mean, obviously that would be the most direct place for you to answer is through you individually, but do you feel like as a generation of coaches, we give our players enough opportunities to practice leadership before we say, I got no leadership on this team. I went to an AAU, whatever it was, last weekend games. And I'm talking to this one guy, and he's coaching a 17 and under team. And the first thing he says to me, Jay Wells, we got no leadership on this team. We got no leadership on this team. And okay, cool. Have you practiced that? Have you given them opportunities to be that? Or are you just saying we don't have it because it don't show up how you either think it should look or whatever? So anyway, where you at with that? Like, do you think as a generation of coaches, we give our players enough opportunities to practice leadership?
I mean, I would say no, because of what you just said. That's clear speak. That's clear speak. That's not, I mean, I'm sorry, that's not clear speak. It's just, hey, we don't got no leaders. And I think the question of what you shared was great. Like, we have to give them the tools. If we don't have tools, we can't take pieces and put them together. Every piece is necessary to have the tools in order to make them come together and become the final picture. So I think in regards to answering that question, like, it's necessary, it's needed, but can we get out of the way in order to create that space for them to lead? It's extremely important. It's extremely important. And I think in the past, it's been, well, he's the oldest, so he's supposed to be the leader. I think that's why what you do, Jay, is brilliant. Your best player is not going to be your best leader. I think all those things are just, you need clear speak. You need to have things defined clearly in your program. And I think the most important part is you can do all this stuff, but if you don't have belief and buy-in, it's not going to work. Like, they have to buy in. They have to. And then they also have to believe. So while I'm buying in, I believe that there's a purpose to this. And if you got both, something great's going to happen. That leadership's going to happen. But no, because I don't think coaches define things clearly. So we just get upset and say we don't have it. We don't rearrange our hand. We just complain and say we don't have the right cards.
Yeah, I would even say, go back to Remember the Titans, when the guy said attitude reflects leadership.
Captain.
And I would say, just in terms of like these, especially these young guys, when I was young, when you guys were young, you need to see a clear example of what it is that you are supposed to be. So when a coach says, oh, we don't have no leadership, to me, that's a lazy cop-out. But it also is, you're not a leader either. So be careful what you say and be careful what you ask for. Because as a coach, your team inevitably, if you want to know who you are as a coach, watch your team. And they will give you certain characteristics that they will emulate your characteristics. Message. So if there is some type of leadership that you want, you have to, in my opinion, it's best if you can emulate that to those guys so that they can see it in certain situations early and often, so that down the line, later on, they know what that looks like. And I wanted to say this in terms of Mo, like, your team says, they use your same language and they say things that you want to say, or the same thing. A coach told me this, and he was being facetious. He was kind of being funny, but it's true. He said, I no longer kick my team out of practice when I'm upset or I'm disappointed or they're not doing something right. I just remove myself. I just kick myself out of practice. And lo and behold, if you do kick yourself out of practice, and this has happened to me a couple of times, I kicked myself out of practice, and I locked myself out of the office, so I couldn't get in the office to hide from them. So here they are, all 13 of them come down the hallway, and we have a conversation, and the conversation is led by them. And they're saying all the things that I was thinking and or would have said to them. And we get back on the floor and we end up having a really good practice. But to answer your question, Jay, I don't know that enough opportunities are given by us to allow the younger kids to lead. And I don't know, because we are as coaches, we're driven by something different too. We're driven by winning. We're driven by X's and O's. And a lot of what leadership is doesn't have anything to do with X's and O's. That's just my opinion.
So you touched on this, and this will bring us home from money moments. I've had conversations recently with players on teams, and I'm being, this is like one of those things where the names of the people involved are being changed. Like this, because the situation I'm telling you about it's not on one of your teams, and it's not even in the athletic space. It's actually outside of the athletic space, but let's just call where I'm getting the information from a player. And the way that the information came across to me, it was basically, I'm not getting any leadership guidance from my leader. I'm not getting coached. I'm getting told. And this is in an adult situation. So this, of course, there's always growth, there's always coaching, there's always that component. But in this situation, is what I'm craving for, I'm not getting. I got enough skill set and maturity to be able to know to ask for what I want, and I'm still not getting it. I'm just getting told. And it just goes back to kudos and celebration to both of you two guys, because you two guys show up in a way that, as leaders, as head coaches, you understand where your growth lies. Y'all know that's my motto. The best coaches got coaches. Like, that's just what it is. We don't make it to the NBA and stop going to practice. you got to coach. But yeah, the way that this was delivered to me was basically that thing that you just said, D, was my leadership growth has peaked at this moment, and I'm not growing because he's not growing. Where are you at with that?
It goes back to what Mo said in terms of providing clarity with those expectations. What do you expect from your leader, so-called leader? What do you expect from your players? What do you expect? What are your expectations? And can we talk about how we are going to work towards those expectations, and then how we're going to respond if those expectations are not being met? Because I would want to know right then and there from a player, from whomever is in my world, hey, this ain't working. Well, why is it not working from your perspective? Oh, well, here's my perspective. And then try to put those perspectives together to see if we can be productive together. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Only matters if you win or experience a level of success. Again, that's just my opinion.
And to add, I think one of the most important things in leadership is self-awareness. Like, you have to be so aware of knowing yourself, and then putting yourself in situations where you are getting truth over harmony. Like, harmony is what you want to hear, but the truth is what you need to hear. And I think, like, for me, like, identifying my self-awareness of, like, my creativity, my ability to deliver the same message in multiple ways is one of my superpowers. Like, I take a lot of pride in that. Like, I appreciate you for talking about the decibel thing. Like, yeah, it's never, why can't I do this? It's like, what more can I do? And Jay, I think that's gold that you give that to people in that toolbox. But I'm always like, okay, if we can't do that, well, what can we do? Like, I'm obsessed with learning, but I'm even more obsessed with getting others and finding how they learn. And I think one of my favorite things about teaching basketball, but teaching in general, is seeing that light bulb go off for somebody, on them knowing and identifying how they learn. So, like, coaching in poetry instead of sentences, rhyming, whatever it is. and that's just, I'm obsessed with that. Like, how can we make it more simplistic? And that's what my coaching is. It's not, how can we reinvent this or that? It's how can we make it so much clearer next year? How can we make it more clear next year? Do we have to buy shirts with ants on them because we want our guys to be an ant opposed to a wheelbarrow? Like whatever it is. I mean, Jay, you heard me. I was a practice where I'm like, they don't need to hear my voice. So we created small groups, and instead of me leading them, I'm just kind of moving around a little bit. I want to hear what are our conversations like. You don't got nothing to say? Well, it's a long time for you to sit there and stare at him. So something's gonna be said. So just little things like that, man. I'm obsessed with that, and that creativity it's my superpower. I love it. I love finding new ways.
Pub to content / service offering coming out, so that I'm about 95% done with my ebook. My ebook is going to be titled Coaching Champions, and the subtitle is The Game Plan to Becoming a Great Leader. And great to me is it's a acronym. We talk about great all the time. It's one of the reasons we can't come up with a GOAT in the game. Who is it? Is it MJ? Is it Kobe? Is it Bron? Like, everybody can come up with their own perceptions. But for me, when we talk about great coaches, great leadership, there's so many different things. There's so many different variables. Is it championships? Is it conference championships? Is it, is Mark Few not a great coach because he hasn't won a national championship yet? You know what I mean? Like, it's all these different things. Mo, you and I talked about it the other day. I feel like a lot of times great coaches get fired because their greatness is attached to wins and losses and not the impact they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things. But really quickly, just as we wrapping, and again, Pub and yeah, this is where we're gonna be. But great to me, the acronym is great leaders, great coaches. One, they're always growing, they're always getting better, they're always learning, improving, enhancing. There's something about them that is attracted to improvement and growth. So that's the G in great. The R is they are rooted in relationships. You guys heard me kind of joke around with this. I was looking for an acronym that started with R, because that's actually the first one to me, is being rooted in relationships. But I couldn't find a word that started with R that contained those letters. But the relationship is everything. The relationship is everything. What's the relationship with myself? And then what's the relationship with my team or my players or my staff or the people that are in my care? Great coaches are tapped into their energy, understanding that it's contagious, understanding that the team feeds off of it. Like, how do people feel when you walk in a room? How do people feel when you walk out of a room? Like, all of that energy piece is one that I found great coaches are really tapped into. The A is great coaches are aware. That Mo, you mentioned that before. One of the biggest factors being that self-awareness, that awareness of myself, and knowing different things like, is this a day where I need to go in and be on their ass for 3 hours? Or is this a day where, it's 45 minutes and we get out of practice? It's that awareness piece. And then the T is trust. And yeah, I shared this before. One of my coaches told me one time, he said, the relationship has to be strong enough to bear the weight of the truth. The truth is heavy. So yeah, like, do we have the relationship that is strong enough to be able to bear this truth that we about to talk about? And I think many times it doesn't. Man, this hour went by super quick, but I appreciate y'all, man. We only got one more episode left in this season, fellas, after this recording. So in that finish, we talked about greatness as leaders. We talked about leadership, different things. I appreciate how y'all show up as leaders. I can't wait to continue to grow. Until next time, I'm Jay Wells. I love y'all boys, man.
Peace. Love you too, Mike.
All love.